Hi everybody. I just wanted to hop on and do a video. George and I are going to do an update video for you shortly. But as you can probably see, we're not living in the bus anymore. And when George and I do the video together, we'll tell you why we moved out of the bus. We still have it. We haven't decided exactly what we're going to do, if we're going to live in it again, but right now we are holding on to it. I just wanted to do a video about some things that were really difficult about living in the bus, maybe some things that people don't talk about. We lived in it a little over 16 months and through 2 New England winters. So there's people that have lived in it much longer, but that was the 4 of us. So me and George and our 2 kids, our 2 boys. And there was just some things that were unexpected. So the first thing is that it was still kind of expensive for us to live in the bus. And part of this is because we didn't have any solar panels and we were hooked into electric of anywhere we were. And for whatever reason, maybe because we like to keep the bus warm, our mini split system would always be on, and the electric bill was sometimes $400 to $500 a month. Sometimes even more, depending. So we were really surprised at how much it was to keep it running and the electric bill costs for us. The second thing is we did live in it 2 winters, and it gets tough in the winter, especially with kids. There were, even though we had heat tape and all of that, there were some mornings I would wake up and we wouldn't have water because it had froze. And George would have to get the salamander heater and put it under there so I could get running water. If he didn't do that, at about 12 o'clock, noon time, 1 o'clock, I would finally have water again. But sometimes that was tough. It didn't happen often, but it happened often enough to kind of make it hard. The third thing is you have to have less stuff when you live in a bus. But even though I had less stuff, I still feel like I had a little bit too much. I had things like stuffed into places that I forgot I had until I moved out of the bus, and I had it like stuffed in the back of the closet. I'm like, oh, I had that the whole time I lived in the bus, and I forgot about it because I had kind of stuffed it away, which kind of leads me to my next point of the bus tends to get very dirty quickly. And I've heard this on other videos. Yes, the bus gets dirty, but it gets cleaned quicker. What I realized is once we moved out of the bus, how dirty it really was. Like I was cleaning it a lot, but there was it's such a small space that I wasn't getting to some of the dust like I should have. I cooked in there so many times a day that there was like dust and grease in places that I didn't even realize when I had lived in that space. So that was like, wow, we've been living in this, and I don't really know how healthy the air was for us to breathe, especially when we had it so closed up over the winters, and breathing in that dust in that small space. And I don't think it really helped my youngest, who was pretty young when we were living in the bus. And so his lungs were still kind of developing. He has some lung issues, and we're always talking about, was it because we lived in the bus? I don't know, but something I noticed, it gets very, very dirty. And also, because it's a small space, there's a lot of wear and tear. So we spent a ton of money on our bus, very nice. But because it's such a small space, like you would be surprised when we moved out, like we have to like paint the whole interior of the bus again. There's just so much wear and tear on it, and you don't really realize how much, like I said, until I moved out and I go back in, I'm like, wow, we need to do some work to this. We still haven't done the work to it, but it is in our plans. Whether we move back in it or not, we're gonna like repaint it, refresh it, and things like that. So it's something to think about. And then something that some people talk about as well, there is a level of or I should say a kind of a lack of privacy when there's a family living in a bus. And we made it work with all of us, but it was still tough. If you really wanted to like close the bathroom door and have no one come in, it was tough because that's the way you get to the back of our bus, which was the kids' rooms, which is under we had king size bed, and then their bunks are under ours, and they had like storage space in the back as well. So to play, they would go back there and play and things like that. But there wasn't really a spot you could just go and shut the door and no one would bother you. So we moved into this. We're living in a 2-bedroom apartment right now, and we moved into this and we're like, wow, look at this space. And it's like 800 square feet, but we felt like it was so big because we were so accustomed to so small for so long. It was fine. It was kind of part of it, and we don't regret doing it at all. Like I said, we might even go back into it at some point. It's just, we had to move out at a certain point. Like I said, George and I will update you on that. But those are some things that aren't really talked about like as much. And, it was supposed to be almost easier moving in the bus. Like we're supposed to have a more simple life, but we found like it wasn't necessarily like that. Because we simplified things, there were still problems. We still had issues like no water at times, or the cleanliness of it, or the privacy, or the electric bill that we were not expecting. We thought our bills would be so much less, and it wasn't. And our electric bill now in this 2-bedroom apartment is significantly less than it was when we were living in the bus. So those are some things to think about. And I'm sorry we have not gone on here and done any updates. We would love to do a full bus tour, especially now that we're not living in it, to kind of really show you the space and all the parts of it and everything, not isolated like I had done before. And George and I will be on here shortly to give you a full update of why we moved out and all of that. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching.